Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by MiloTree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Blogger Genius Podcast. I am your host, Jillian Leslie, and I'm so happy that you are here. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love building businesses on the internet and helping you do the same. I want to give you an update on MiloTreeCart. This is the payment tool David, my husband, and I have launched to help you, creators and bloggers, sell digital products like memberships, workshops, ebooks, courses, you name it, directly to your audiences. As you know, I've been getting on lots of calls with people who have audiences. If this is you and you are not selling directly to them, I can help you turn on a whole new income stream. For example, I was working with a crafter last week. She has about 20,000 TikTok followers. She decided to do a 1-hour Zoom workshop, set up her sales page in MiloTreeCart, went out, sold it, and boom, made $750. Now she can take that recording and resell it over and over as a mini course. If this sounds like something you'd like to do and you have an audience, set up a call with me. Go to milotree.com/meet. We'll talk about a product idea, get you selling, and wait until you see this bucket of money just waiting for you. For today's episode, I have my friend Neil Shafer back on the show. This is his third appearance. He is a social media expert, and every so often, I feel like I need to reconnect with Neil to kind of see what is happening in the social media landscape. This summer especially, I've been starting to feel things shift, and Neil has as well, and we talk all about it. So without further delay, here is my interview with Neil Shafer. Neil, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much, Jillian. It's always an honor to be here.
I reached out to you, a couple weeks ago, and I said, Neil, I need your insights. I need to know what you are seeing out in the social media landscape, because this summer I've started to notice things shifting. And so I was like, Neil, I need to pick your brain. So what would you say? Like, we were just starting to talk and I said, oh, wait to record. But one thing you just mentioned is the rise of TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew that it was big. I think some of us, during COVID, we also had this thing called Clubhouse.
For a nanosecond.
Yeah, and it's like, well, is this a product of COVID or does it have legs? Well, I'd say for various reasons, it didn't have legs, and it was a product of COVID. Was TikTok the same? Kids are at home, they got lots of time, they can dance in their house and, watch TikTok. But clearly, TikTok has really taken off and had so much impact that it has influenced not just Facebook, which always copies other social networks we know, but even YouTube, right, with YouTube Shorts. And just the stats that come out that more people are spending more time on TikTok than YouTube is really shaking up the entire social media industry, I would say. And, with that, it means that I think it's really time that we rethink our approach to social media, because every social network, well, LinkedIn is obviously a little bit different, same with Twitter. But when we talk about the big networks, they're really moving us in that direction, whether we like it or not. I think Instagram recently had some backlash with even the Kardashians saying, hey, don't become like TikTok. So it really makes you question, who are my people and what content do they want to consume, right? Do they just want to consume an image? Do they want to consume a video? What type of video? And I think it's time that when we started in social media, I always teach you need to have role models. So if you can't figure out a social network, like back in the early days of Twitter, what do I tweet, right? Well, go onto Twitter, find a role model, find people in your industry that have already been there, done that, and analyze what they're doing and try to reverse engineer, give your own perspective, have your own strategy, but it gives you an idea, right? And I think it's time. I think with Facebook, we already did that. With Instagram, we might have done that a few years ago, but I think we almost need to do a reset, right? And really go on to TikTok specifically, go into Reels, go into YouTube Shorts, and find those role models again, who are going to be very different than they were a few years ago. TikTok 2 years ago was primarily dance entertainment, but today it's very different. There are professionals there are real estate agents who are showing up, being raw, and giving great advice, and they're building followings and influence, and from that business, right? So it can be done. It's just a little different. And I know we have a lot of Pinterest people that listen, and I'm a Pinterest person myself, and I recently had Kate All on my podcast. I know she's appeared on your podcast, and we all love her. And one of her comments was like, TikTok is almost becoming what Pinterest used to be. And I think to myself, even TikTok has these ads as seen on TikTok. It's these 30-somethings, 40-somethings that, hey, did you know that you can do this? I saw it on TikTok. And I think of like Pinterest idea pins, and it's like, well, that's like TikTok. It's, in 15, 30, 60 seconds, can we show how to do something? Can we teach someone something? So I think if you take what we already have and repurpose it in their format, I think that we're all going to get at least a lot more visibility for what we do. Even like on Instagram, I notice now when I publish on Instagram, maybe I stopped getting likes like 12 hours after publishing. It used to be 18 hours. Before that, it used to be 24 hours. Before that, it used to be like 2 days, right? I noticed the impressions are way down and reels obviously are way up. Even stories, for me, my images were always outperforming stories, not anymore. So it's a reminder to look at the data and what is that telling us where we need to shift, because we use social media differently as time goes by. And clearly, when you are consuming a 3-second video versus if you have a long caption, it's one thing, but the video just engages people in a deeper way than what other forms of content do, right? When we grew up watching TV.
Totally.
So, yeah.
I was going to say one thing that I have seen, and I've read a bunch of articles about this, and I think it's really true, that Facebook came on the scene and Twitter on the scene with a social graph as the backdrop, which is, you're my friend, I befriend you, I see what you're posting, you see, you post photos of your kid, I post photos of my kid, I see you on vacation. And that's kind of how it started. And then it became, well, let's open this up. And now all of a sudden you're posting articles to the New York Times, and then I'm seeing that as well. And it became a source of news. But at its core, it was friend-based. It was who your network of people were. Even if I'm following celebrities or who knows what, it was person to person. TikTok comes out and they're like, we don't care about that. We don't care who your friends are. We care about our algorithm. We are competing now with television, with Netflix, we are just here to entertain you. And that, I think, is very different at its core. And it is therefore all about kind of serving you up crack, because they know what does well. They know, they learn you. I've read that it can take them 45 minutes to really understand who you are based on your browsing pattern. And then they can serve you up the exact right little snippet that will light up your brain. And so now it's interesting, because what does Facebook do? They, again, it was always this idea that nobody could ever come in and compete with Facebook, because it's taken years and years for them to create this social graph of all your relationships. And it was, and then it was always like, oh, Facebook is going to be dominant, even through Instagram, dominant forever. Yeah. And all of a sudden, here is TikTok saying, oh, no, we're coming at it from a totally different angle. We are going to give you dopamine hits, which, by the way, light your brain up more than me seeing photos of you on vacation or the New York Times article or whatever. It's almost like it's just even more stimulating, and it's better than Netflix, and it's just little pops of stuff. And we have all just like my daughter, watching her on TikTok is like she is on drugs.
My kids as well. Yeah.
And I say to her, like, this summer, or no, I guess during the pandemic, I kept going, are you on TikTok more or Instagram? Those were like, and Snapchat she uses for like talking to people, but it's in a totally different bucket. And she would say, oh no, I'm on TikTok like 3/4 of the time, and Instagram maybe on a quarter of the time. And now I would say it's like 90% TikTok. So just watching the evolution for her has been shocking.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken over watching YouTube videos. It's taken over watching TV, I think, for that generation, right? And I think, YouTube is sort of similar. There's a famous YouTube expert named Daryl Eves, and he says, just create create your content, let YouTube find your viewer. And I think that's exactly what TikTok has done, right? It's organized based on their algorithm, what people are interested in. And therefore, if you publish something, they will find, right, those people that would want to watch your content. And it's a very, very different phenomenon. Maybe, in some ways similar to Pinterest, because we had followers on Pinterest, but it wasn't based on a social graph, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It was content specific. And I
And
loved what you were saying about the way to get your feet wet on TikTok is to go and again, everybody on TikTok will share this strategy. If you're into how to grow your TikTok, which is kind of where I am in terms of what the algorithm shows me. And it is literally go search in TikTok for video, go put a keyword into the search bar. Go check the settings for what has had the most likes over the last month. Look at those videos and literally copy them with your voice. But I mean, use the same sound, use the same hashtags, take as much of it as somebody has already created. Because on some level, this is done well. You might not know why. Nobody even will know why, but you just take all of those elements, put your face in it, your slight message change, and post it. And I think that is so fascinating because we all kind of respond as humans similarly to things. So if one video has done well, instead of recreating the wheel, thinking something, the TikTok algorithm knows something. So therefore, all you're going to do is feed that very similar content to the TikTok algorithm.
Yeah, TikTok is meme culture.
Ooh, yes.
And it's extremely trendy. So remember in high school, 1 month people would be wearing one thing and the next month another thing, and they were being influenced by different, I grew up in the 80s, like Madonna or Tom Cruise, what have you. And TikTok is really that accelerated. So I find my daughter, our daughters are in high school now, right? So she's interning and doing some social media and helping them with their reels and TikToks. And she showed me when it's for an agave mix. So she showed me, hey, Daddy, check this out. I didn't get it. She goes, oh, well, it's a TikTok meme. It's a TikTok thing. People on TikTok
exactly.
would get it.
Oh my God, I get that from my daughter.
Right?
No, you won't understand it, Mom.
So if you do some reverse engineering here, you'll find 25, 50, 100 different memes that you can replicate, obviously with your own voice, with your own content, with your own, culture and values and branding. But that, I think, is what I see people successful on TikTok are definitely doing. And guess what? Those memes change all the time, right? It's high school. It's the high school fashions. It's changed like everyone. Like my daughter doesn't wear Vans anymore. I'm like, what? You were all into Vans last year. What's going on this year? And I think for all of us who, it's like, oh my gosh, we have Tailwind. We have Tailwind communities. We can, reschedule our pins. Once we have a system down, it's going to work forever. Obviously, that is not the reality today. And we need to work a little bit more harder, a little bit more creative. The flip side is I think it's a lot funner once you have your system down. And it's funny, Jillian, I actually went to I mentioned I was in the Midwest. So in Detroit, Meta put on a free event for small businesses. They called it Meta Boost Small Business Studio. They actually had a Reels school that I attended, teaching everybody how to create Reels.
What'd you find out? Share.
Well, so they did. So, they basically went through the user interface and they showed examples. And it's funny because the examples they were showing, it was almost like if an idea pin came to life. That is what a reel is, right? It's moving video. It's snippets of video that are pieced together to show a transformation of something, a recipe or makeup or whatever. So they just did this fun thing, on Reels, they have these grids. So you can record a top first and a bottom. So they basically, I know it's going to be hard for people to visualize this in the podcast, but they said, okay, first of all, we want you to take a picture of you. You're going to stick your head up. You're going to look to the left, then you're going to look to the right, and then you're going to stick your head down. So, we get on this grid. It's a top bottom. We did that. And then the bottom, she goes, okay, I just want you to take a video of a coffee cup in front of you. Right. And so the effect is when you put them together is that your head is coming out of this coffee cup. You're looking to the left, looking to the right, and then going back in the coffee cup. Right. I mean, would you ever use it as content? Probably not. But it gives you an idea of the creativity and the different things you can do. So you could have a left-right grid where you're talking to the left and then you're on the right, just nodding or disagreeing to the person on the left. But I think really the easiest way, Jillian, is just to consume that content. Yes. See what's out there, understand those memes, and know that some are going to be easier to replicate than others.
Yes.
But I think that gets you started on the journey. Like you said, Jillian, like with workshops, unless you do it, you don't know. Once you do it, you get the data, you find new transformations, new ideas. And that's exactly the same with TikTok, and therefore with Reels and with YouTube Shorts. I think we can all lump them together as short form video.
Yes.
So it's just a different process of content creation that is going to require more creativity. It's going to require us to consume more of that content to understand the platform, so we don't look like we're coming from outer space.
Right.
Which happens to a lot of older people that are on TikTok, according to my daughter. We don't want to seem like a boomer, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's very different. And if you don't do that, you can continue using social media like you used to, but it just becomes less effective over time.
Definitely. And the thing that I think, the reason why I wanted you on the show is because I am feeling the earth shifting underneath me. And what I mean by that is I kind of, got comfortable in my Instagram strategy, and I kind of got comfortable in just even like Google SEO and keyword research and stuff like this. And by the way, I'm reading an article last week about how, again, like kids, like our kids, aren't using Google like we use Google. You know what they're using? TikTok.
Yep.
TikTok is becoming a search engine. Like what? So what's interesting is all of these technologies that we assumed would just be the way they are. And yeah, Instagram might come out with some sort of new part of their app that they copied from somebody else, like Be Real, which we'll talk about. But I'm starting to see disruption in a way that I hadn't seen previously. For example, I don't know about you, but I think now Google search kind of sucks. I think that it's been over optimized, and I'm getting results that there was an article, I think, in the New York Times about about this, like David, my husband, and I were recently talking about this, how like over optimized the results are and like gamified they are. Like they're not necessarily the information you're looking for. So people are typing in, let's say, I want to search for apple pie recipe or something like this, but they're going like apple pie recipe Reddit, because at least with Reddit, those are more real people rather than, or like car tires or something where you want I want people's real opinions about something. And they're searching for Reddit stuff because they want the Reddit reviews or they want the Reddit threads rather than whatever is going to show up on the first page of Google that you kind of go, it's not exactly it doesn't feel real. It feels like it's been written by some bots.
Yeah. So I like to really simplify digital marketing into 3 big buckets. You have search, you have email, you have social. These are the 3 primary ways in which people can digitally consume information, right? I think search and email are still golden. Some things have changed. You'll talk to some people who say, more and more people, they find the information within the search result, right? Within a featured snippet, and they don't even go to the website. I have had really good success. This is why, Jillian, I need to do my workshop. I've had really good success with SEO the last 2 years, and my traffic keeps on increasing. So it is possible even today. And I'll say the part about being real is that I use my own brand, neilshafer.com. And I am finding, I will always say people trust people more than logos. People trust people more than businesses. So I lean into the fact that it's a person providing this information. It's going to be impartial. I'm not trying to sell you an email marketing tool or, a social media marketing tool, because I'm competing against those companies that at the end of the day, they're writing the content to get people to opt into their business, right? I'm not doing that. I want to provide you that information. So I think that there's still opportunity. I do think that rawness has helped, that realness. That it's an actual person that they can engage with, that'll respond to comments, what have you. Email, obviously, is still golden. Now, is it becoming text with younger generations? Absolutely. I just spoke last week, Jillian, at an American Auctioneers Association, so auctioneers from around the country. In California, where I live, it's not that big, but in some parts of the country, it's huge, right? And there was one gentleman there who said, oh my gosh, our text campaigns are incredibly effective. Incredible. Just like with Facebook Messenger marketing in the early days, like 80% open rates, what have you, but they're actually seeing that. So if you combine the text, the WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Instagram DM, and the email, that's still really effective. The social is really where you need to be real. And I almost think, Jillian, just thinking, is that social graph breaks down if not enough people post enough interesting content, right? So I can keep going to Facebook, see what's going on, or I can be really entertained on TikTok. And I think we're also seeing some of that there's limitations, right? As to the creativity of people, even within your social graph. And that's why
Right. Like, do
Instagram
you
is
really
even,
want to see my vacation ship photos? Like, do you
yeah, and
care
that's
that much?
case in point, Instagram pushing, we started seeing more reels from people we don't follow. It's the exact, they were experimenting. And it's funny because before all this blew up, when I was at that event, they were saying that experiment was going successfully. They're finding more people are consuming more reels from people they don't follow.
Right.
Was the data that I was being told by the Meta folks at that event. But yeah, I think that, part of it is definitely from COVID, is that when I think about these influencers, like Charlie D'Amelio is a great example. She just showed up on TikTok doing dances. Now, yeah, the dance skills are crazy, some of these TikTokers, but beyond that now, it's people. It's you and me showing up. It's not about, using a lot of trickery. Maybe there's a way of showing transitions and making it more engaging from a video perspective that we all need to study, right? But the effects are all in the app for the most part. I mean, there might be some third-party apps, but the app itself is incredible in terms of the functionality. Just need to figure it out. Like I mentioned that Instagram Reel trick.
Right.
So yeah, it requires us to really show up in a raw way and in video. And I think there's a lot of introverts that love Pinterest. They don't want to be on video.
Or they
There's
love
ways
being
of
a food blogger and hiding behind your recipes.
show the recipe now, right?
Right. But show your face if you can. Because
if you
again,
can.
I want
People
to
connect with
connect.
faces.
Yes, TikTok is a big deal. And if you want to grow your TikTok followers, I highly recommend our MiloTree pop-up app. What it does is it pops up on your blog and asks your visitors to follow you on TikTok. Simple. To try it out for 30 days free, head to MiloTree.com. It is super optimized, will not slow your site down. So go to MiloTree.com and sign up. And now back to the show. When I think about my daughter, and there she is going to school remotely, and her move away from Instagram, which I think is like every teenage girls, like it's like aspirational and their worst nightmare because
mental
it's
health
like
issue.
Exactly. And like I could see that. And I weirdly felt like showing up, looking at TikTok where people look more normal. I mean, there are weird parts of TikTok too. So you have to kind of make sure your kid's not going into those areas. But people look more normal on TikTok than they do with filters on Instagram. Plus, Instagram's kind of like your best moment, like it's like the golden hour of like, look how fabulous I am. Whereas people were more raw on TikTok, especially at the beginning. And I think, therefore, that was one of the reasons for my daughter who's not seeing any friends. All of a sudden, she has these perceived friends on TikTok. Not that she knows them. She's just consuming their funny content. She's like, look, people are funny on TikTok. And that was enough for her to keep her engaged. So I think, again, you and I've talked about this a bunch of times. People want raw people want to feel like they relate and they connect.
Yeah, and you know what? This is really great timing because, as I mentioned, I taught my first course at UCLA Extension of Influencer Marketing last night. So we had 15 students in the room. There were only 3 from the United States, by the way. So we had Taiwan, Brazil, Armenia, Turkey. I said, okay, because the first class is like introduction, why are influencers influential? What are the characteristics that make them influential? And I'm not saying you all need to become influencers, but these are people who are able to grow a community and a following because they have certain factors. And interestingly enough, we had 10, and at the end of the class, I'm like, okay, let's narrow this down to 5. I think the top one, and I lumped it into one thing. It was relatability, honesty, authenticity, and relevance. This is sort of this one bucket of things. By the way, the other one was relationships with followers, trust, community. In other words, when they recommended something, even if it was hashtag ad, it was still believable that they were truly recommending it, right? So these are, and then content obviously is one of those 5 things. The other one is, well, it's really hard to, it is charisma, which really means being more of a trendsetter than copying what everyone else is doing, which is really hard to try to figure out. And then persuasion, because all this, adds up to persuasion and influence. But I think that relatability, honesty, authenticity, and relevant. It's almost like, Jillian, don't you say, hey, I'm showing up for my girlfriends, and it's like I'm talking to my girlfriends when I'm online. I think that is really the approach that if more people took. So it's less about programming like, oh, we need to create the image in this dimension, and we need a click here button and an arrow. It's a very, very different mindset that says, okay, I'm me, and I'm just having a conversation with my buds or my girlfriends, and I'm just sharing what I know as if I was seeing them in real life. And I'm using some skills that I learned from being active on TikTok or Reels, and those are things we need to pick up, which I think are we can do. But that's a very, very different mindset than this. Let's schedule out our pins for the next year. Let's schedule the blog post. Let's check Yoast SEO and all that, right? It's very, very different. It really is coming back to the relationship aspect, but it's that adding of the authenticity and the rawness that COVID really required us to do. And I think, yeah, I mean, like, going back to the Instagram, my daughter, 2 years older than your daughter, but with Instagram, you couldn't repeat what those influencers were doing because they were on a remote beat. But with TikTok,
they were like kind of on a mountaintop,
Yeah, TikTok, it's repeatable, it's relatable. My daughter and her friends will sort of like mimic famous TikTok dances, right? And they'll record videos. They may not post them, but they get a kick out of doing that. That is relatability. It's like, yeah, I can do that too. And maybe that is almost like a guide for creating our content. Yes, I can do that too.
I can do that too. Like, remember, so when I teach and I talk about, I want people to like do workshops, paid workshops like you, Neil. And I say it's better if you're only 1 to 2 steps ahead of where your people are. So one woman that I coach to create a workshop is married. I've told the story, is married to a French chef. But I don't want to learn from the French chef how to cook. I want to learn from her, who has learned from her husband, because she's relatable to me. I would feel embarrassed, or what if I asked a stupid question to the French chef, or what if I don't understand his French accent? And like, I just would feel the difference is too great. But she is a mom like me, and she's learning along, and her skills are much better than mine, but I relate to her. And so I feel like I want her to teach me how to do French cooking, not him.
Yeah, that's true.
And that is where I feel like this is like your opening, that even though a lot of times people get nervous, like, what do I know? Well, chances are you know a lot, and you really can empathize with where somebody is. And like on TikTok, somebody's doing a dance and you could probably kind of figure it out and do it yourself.
Yeah, and I think, TikTok in 2022, you don't have to do a dance anymore.
And you don't have to do a dance.
It's not about dancing, right?
No.
But yeah, you only have to be 1 step ahead. And really, it's like everyone in the room last night. Well, how do we know if that's good engagement or not? It's like, well, you need data, right? You need in everything you do to fall back on. So you're not going to know what performs, or you're not going to know what your audience engages with until you actually create that content and get it out there and see. And if you are only 1 or 2 steps ahead, it's raw, it's relatable, that engagement's going to show up, right? It's also going to guide you as to what content you might be doing more of and less of. It's like, one of my clients from my fractional CMO consulting, they provide nutritional supplements, and they have 4 main products. It's like, okay, we're going to divide all of our strategies into 4 different things: our SEO, our email, and our social. And we're going to get different results on different channels for different products. And that's awesome. And maybe the social media just becomes talking about one product. And I talk about this in classes I teach, like Nordstrom. They focus on like female fashion. If you go into a Nordstrom, they sell men's, they sell everything else. But up until recently, it was just female fashion because that's what sold on Instagram. So you don't have to do everything. Just find that niche, or a niche within a niche, right? And if you don't know it, test out these different ideas and content, and then be able to say, okay, I did it for a month. I did, 4 different reels, 4 different products, or 4 different angles, or 4 different categories of content. And one just, perform way better than the others. Awesome. You have your answer.
Go there. Yeah, absolutely. Now let's talk about Be Real, because I don't know much about it, but my daughter.
I don't know much about it either.
Okay. But it's just interesting that this has come out of nowhere. It's an app. It's one of the most downloaded apps on the App Store. And it's again in response to this idea of like the perfect Instagram photo. I think what happens is you get a message on your phone that you have 2 minutes to take a photo of you being real in that moment. And it takes one of your front camera and back camera, and it will show you how many times you have reshot it. So that therefore the goal is just to be real. And then if you do the photo, you can see other people who you're friends with, you can see their photos as well. So it incentivizes you that way. I've read that it's like huge. I've read that it's already peaked and on its way down. Who knows whether this will have like be like a Clubhouse or be like TikTok. But I think it speaks though to this desire for authenticity. And as I'm thinking in this conversation, like I think that the world that we've lost, like we have a crisis of confidence. We have a who to believe. I think that therefore we want to trust people again. We want people to show up. And I think my theory is this is why something like Be Real is speaking to people over some overly optimized, filtered Instagram post that's been photoshopped, So that's just my theory about where we are as a culture.
I think that, if you think about it, social media has, as well as a lot of businesses have stemmed from youth culture. Social media came from youth culture. Facebook grew from universities, right? Twitter might be a little bit different, but clearly we had Snapchat, which grew from a young culture. Instagram as well. If you remember the early days, it was very, very young. It turned millennial, now older, obviously. And TikTok obviously has that young culture. And I have also found, I hear more about Snapchat these days of kids going back to that as just a way to have fun messages between people and, send snaps. And then you got Be Real. So, not a lot of people publish a lot of content on TikTok. They're just consuming. So it's not really a messaging platform that kids use to keep in touch.
No,
and then Instagram. So Snapchat actually fills it. And then Be Real is like a combination of a few different things, right? It's a way for them to communicate, but also have this fun aspect. But it's not like you're creating some snap and looking silly in some filter. It's authentic. So I first heard about Be Real this summer. But it's funny because last night, one of my Brazilian students, and actually her older brother is a Brazilian influencer with like 7 million followers on TikTok. She was talking about how she would be shooting a video at a mall in LA and people come up to her and, oh, you're shooting your Be Real for today, aren't you? So, and she said that's happened she says it's happened like 5 times. So clearly I think we're still at the beginning. And I'm like, what do you think about Be Real for influencer marketing? She goes, I could totally see brands doing it. I'm like, have you ever seen any brands doing it? She goes, no, not yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
It's still very new, but I think it might be just for us to better, I think just spending 15 minutes a day in TikTok in your niche is going to provide you. And then just the ability to reverse engineer and start to act is going to be one thing. But if you really want to test something else out, download Be Real, connect with some friends on it.
I think you're going to inspire me to do it today too, because
I may do it as well. My daughter was like, Daddy, you got to get on Be Real. So maybe
both of us will befriend each other. So,
okay.
But it's funny because my daughter will go, oh, my Be Real, here, come in my Be Real with me, and then we take the photo and it gets sent out. And it is all about where are you in your day? Like she'll be like, oh, so-and-so's watching Stranger Things on TV, on Netflix. And it's like, oh, okay. Like that's the Be Real. Now, here is something that I get this a lot. So I'm trying to help people, set up paid workshops and show up live, right? And then one thing that always comes up is the person saying to me, oh my God, but what if my technology fails? Like I've got to have YouTube, I've got to have Zoom, and I don't know, like what if my sound goes out? And I say, that's great. Because if you can do it with grace and humor, your people will love you even more. It's almost like a gift, like it, because you're freaking out in the moment and you're going, oh no, wait, can you hear me guys? Oh no, wait. And then you figure it out that your thing isn't plugged in and maybe it's a disaster and maybe you have to get everybody to come back. Who knows? But you going through that in real time is not bad. In fact, it's good because you are human. So when we're talking about TikTok and people are going, oh, no, like not another platform. Please don't make me show up live and show my face. Please don't do all of this. I'm like, no, go do it and be embarrassed and make it yucky and nobody's going to see it. And it's not a social graph. So your friends aren't going to know that you're doing it. And it's worth just putting yourself out there.
I want to. I once I hosted a webinar and people on it and they couldn't see my slides. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. And I kept on going through my slides, but they weren't seeing them. And I kept getting the messages, Neil, we can't see anything. What's going on? I was like, okay, everybody, let's do a reset. I'm really sorry. We must have some technical issues. We're going to log back in, and everybody did. Well, I had forgotten to share my screen, right? It's like, I laugh about it now. It was such the boomer mistake back in the day, but that stuff happens and everyone was understanding. Well, they didn't know that, right? They thought it was a technical difficulty. They logged back in, they saw the slides, everything was fine. So it wasn't at the time, it was like, oh my God, I feel so incredibly stupid. But it's okay. At the end of the day, they got the transformation they came for, and that's what counts.
Absolutely. And they probably had that warm feeling. Oh no, oh Neil, it's not working.
Even Neil has technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Ability. He's like us.
Yes, exactly. So I guess really what's really nice about this, Neil, because we're friends, is showing up with you, my friend, and talking about just being real, being authentic. And it's like, I like checking in with you. And the message that we seem to come up with in each of our interviews is this same message. It just is kind of colored in different colors, like talking about be real or talking about how everything's shifting, but yet the message is the same, which is put yourself out there, be real, take risks, be embarrassed, and just do it.
Yeah. I mean, people do business with people they like, know, and trust. And social media, it helps you accelerate creating those relationships through content. And that hasn't changed. So in order to get like, know, and trust, you at the end of the day, you have to build relationships because people don't follow you and buy from you the next day. So if you can remember that and just knowing that the way to develop relationships through content changes over time and will continue to change, right? 5 years from now, who knows?
Yes.
But when I first started seeing all these reels and all these people that I follow, all of a sudden, I hadn't seen any of their images, but I'm seeing their reels. And they're just talking to the camera. I'm like, that's pretty stupid. But on the other hand, they're getting visibility, right? And I might thought it's pretty stupid, but they're reaching new people. And some of their followers may not think it's stupid because they're already used to consuming reels and TikTok. So I think we just need to have a different mindset. We are our worst enemy. I am my worst enemy. I know it, Jillian. I should have launched my workshop a while ago, and you're nodding right now. I know. And I think everyone else listening is as well. But I think it's time that it's something that we really need to begin to lean into if we want to retain visibility, but always in a raw, authentic way, and always about the relationships. The relationships means, I know a guy who just got started Instagram. He's a videographer. He takes wonderful videos, but guess what? He doesn't engage with anyone. He just publishes content. So he gets like no engagement, even though the content's really good. So, when I teach, I create this digital influence playbook for everybody. I'm like, okay, so you publish content. That's only half of it. The other half is engagement. It's going out there and engaging with other people, following, liking, commenting, sharing. And if you did that as much as you actually, spend time creating content, that's going to help you develop this community. And more people are going to see you. They find that you commented on someone else, or they see you commenting a lot. They're going to start to, hey, who is this person? What have you? So use all the tools at your disposal. And it's very, very easy to get into this one-trick pony. Like, oh, now I know how Pinterest works. I can just set it in autopilot. The days of autopilot are like done. Even like SEO, I will go back to posts I republished a year or two ago and republish them. Like, okay, time to revise it. 2 years ago on influencer marketing strategy, I didn't talk about TikTok. Got to revise it. 2 years from now, it might be real. I don't know, right? But everything is in flux. Everything is temporary, and we need to have that same approach. I'm really excited about it. I don't like, I have friends, it's like when they were 20, they knew like what year they wanted to retire, where they wanted to, I'm just like, I don't want to know where I'm going to be next year, right? I enjoy the adventure of life. And if you can have that same mindset, I think it's a really exciting time to be on social media.
I love that. Neil, honestly, I'm so glad that we recorded this today. And I think you're right. I think that what I'm noticing and you're noticing is things are shifting and changing like they always are. But I think that if like we get kind of comfortable, like, oh, this is Instagram and I'm going to use this for the next 20 years for my business. And what do you mean there are these new tools that I need to learn? And I think that having that play, like you're smiling right now, and like having that playful attitude of like, cool, how can I use this platform to build my community, to connect with people, to grow myself, to put myself out there in ways I never would have before? Like, how can I grow from this? And how can I just be alive and celebrate this moment?
I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but I have this mastermind group, and I have a pretty snarky gentleman in the group. Great guy. But he's like, he'll when other members are like fretting over the details of what we talked about today, He'll go, stop worrying about it. In 50 years, it's not going to matter. So have fun doing what you're doing. And it's really, it just echoes in my head.
Reminder.
It's such a great reminder, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, Neil, if people want to find you, see what you're publishing, find you on social, like what is the best way?
Well, I am Neil Shafer, NeilSchafer, neilshafer.com, Neil Shafer and all the socials. I also have my own podcast called Your Digital Marketing Coach with Neil Shafer. So if you're looking for, outside of obviously Jillian's podcast, if you're looking for additional podcasts to check out, definitely go there.
Oh, well, Neil, we're going to do this again. I'm going to reach out to you again in a couple months and go, Neil, what's going on? I need to pick your brain.
It's all about Be Real.
I know. Exactly.
I have no idea.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Jillian.
I hope you guys like this episode. I really think things are shifting. If you are noticing it yourself as you build your businesses, as you are using different social media platforms, I would love to hear from you. Please email me at jillian@MiloTree.com. And if a bunch of you share your thoughts, I'll put it together in a podcast episode. And one last thing before I go. If you want to start selling digital products with MiloTreeCart, but you're not sure what kind to create, take my quiz that I just created at MiloTree.com/quiz. And it will tell you based on your personality whether you should start with a digital download, whether you should start with a paid workshop, whether you should start with one-on-one coaching. So again, head to MiloTree.com/quiz. If you want to get on a call with me, MiloTree.com/meet. And I will see you here again next week.